Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Full Time Whistle. This is going to be our second episode of the podcast. So, we hope you enjoyed the first one. So, we're going to do a second one. We're going to talk about different topics today. So, we're going to cover the World Cup, fans returning to stadium, and the Championship. And of course, I have Kieran here with me as well.
Hi everyone, back again.
Back again with the white vans. So,
Look who's back.
let's kick this off with the World Cup. So, everyone in the world, well, let's say everyone in Europe, was looking forward to the Euros this season. Unfortunately, it's been postponed due to the global pandemic. Can you see the World Cup going the same way?
No. I think. I mean, if you just postpone everything and when do you stop? Everything just goes a year later. That's the issue. At some point, you've got to say we're back on the normal cycle of things. So I don't think it will.
So you don't think
I
it'll
don't
get
think it should
postponed
either.
a year? You think it will carry on at the same time it's scheduled at the moment?
Yeah, 2022. Yeah.
So the problem I have with that is, well, we'll get on to, obviously, that's fixture congestion and stuff like that, but in terms of lockdowns in countries, because I've heard today that Beijing might be going to a second lockdown and a second wave. I know, obviously, we're 2.5 years away from the World Cup, because obviously it's going to be in winter, but are other countries, could it be behind closed doors? Could other fans not be allowed to travel there?
I mean, I think we're just too far away. It's like you say, it's two years, 2.5 years.
I mean, would it
It's
really
just
make
it's too early to say, isn't it?
would it make that much of a difference if it was postponed for a year? Like, what would happen?
Uh, It totally depends on other competitions, doesn't it?
So, I
I mean,
mean,
how?
it's going to massively conflict with the fixtures already that are congested, because you've got to think we've got World Cup qualification coming in next season as well. I mean, the game's going to be
Hmm.
they're already going to be congested fixtures. Because the season's going to be started later, so postponing it a year would make more sense because the fixtures are already congested. But that's just my opinion. I think it should personally be postponed a year. And everything's just a year back now, just to make it as plain sailing as possible.
But we kind of want football, don't we? That's the problem.
Well, yeah, the globe wants football. I mean, there's no competition like the World Cup. It's the best footballing competition. Tournament football is arguably the best kind of football. I mean, even when people are playing Sunday League or Saturday League, tournament days were the best days by far.
Yeah, there's
So
something to win, isn't it?
there
On
is.
like, and it's where everyone's kind of got that chance to win something, whereas you don't get in a league really.
I mean, there's so many obviously players like from different continents playing against each other. It's just so much better, so much more entertaining to watch, especially the likes of Messi and Ronaldo, because they literally carry their international teams, like carry.
Well, Messi isn't that great for Argentina, is he? He's not really
No, but
ever.
I think he is. I think he is that great. I think in 2014 he took Argentina to the final himself.
Well, yeah. I mean, but he's not as consistent as Ronaldo has been and other players on the international stage, has he really?
True, true.
He's
But then
not
again,
shown
though,
his.
like neither of them have the likes of the teammates. So back in the last World Cup, Ronaldo didn't have Sergio Ramos at the back. He didn't have Tony Cruz behind him. He didn't have Marcelo. Messi didn't have Iniesta. Didn't have Xavi. Didn't have anybody like that. Didn't have Suarez. Didn't have Neymar.
That's the thing, isn't it? When you look at the world's best players, people don't think of the teams and that they were playing in, and it's the other players that actually enable them to shine, and that these best players don't need to worry about defending or anything else or playmaking as such. They just they score goals and they're allowed to do their own individual things on the pitch.
But
Whereas that's probably not the same at international level.
if we keep in mind these two best players that have ever lived, Messi and Ronaldo, if we postpone the World Cup a year, would Ronaldo and Messi make that World Cup, or would we have seen them at their last one in 2018?
And I think that's probably one of the issues that they're considering.
Because they bring a lot. They bring a lot of revenue. They must do.
Well, you've got this 2022 World Cup in Qatar. They want the best players there in Qatar. This is massive for their country, isn't it?
It's huge.
Just in terms of money, in terms of the infrastructure they're all building, whether it should have gone there is a different story. But
no, probably not.
If you take that aside, they want the best players there, and if they're delaying it a year, which means these players retire from international football, it's not the same, is it?
But would it be good for the World Cup to be there just on the basis of there's going to be water breaks rumoured mid-half? Well, effectively quarters in the game.
I mean, if we go back a few years, FIFA was adamant that it was going to take place in the summer still, which is just bonkers, really, isn't it?
Football is always has been a winter sport. Well, not winter as such, but like autumn to spring.
I mean, the World Cups are summer World Cups, aren't they? Obviously, you have your domestic season. And I don't know if it ever crossed their minds that Qatar was flipping hot. And I mean, it probably wasn't the best idea.
Like, how is it going to work with the Premier League? Because you've already got the congested fixtures now, but how's it going to work? Well, I mean, it's going to be in winter. We're going to have a World Cup in winter.
A lot of the European leagues and leagues around the world already have winter breaks anyway. I think the English league is probably.
Well, we're trialing it, aren't we? We've trialled it this season,
an exception. Yeah, and can you really call that a winter break? It was one weekend on, 1 weekend off.
It was half the league played one weekend and the other half played the other weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a bit of a halfway house, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't
just to appease people. And I mean, there's probably, if you go down to the grassroots level, there is a growing argument now, I think, to have a winter break. Because the pitches are just not in a great state. You have all this bad weather, and I mean, this season before it was all curtailed, we were having so much bad weather.
In the UK, it's more about the rain, isn't it, rather than actually being frozen over.
Yeah, and I mean, years before, we've had bad cold winters and we've had games got off, but it was just so much rain and bad weather and storms that it was just ridiculous. There were some fields that were for months on end just not played on at all because they were just underwater.
Yeah.
But then if you go up to the high level, there's probably not that winter break kind of argument because the pitches are just in such good condition. But
a lot of teams are moving to 3G pitch and 4G pitches now as well, even at grassroots level.
I think it's not long before they actually say that that's allowed in the Football League because at the moment it's not. Obviously, they bring in so much more money for clubs.
Does it make a does it really make a difference playing on a 4G pitch to a grass pitch?
I think it does. I think there is a difference. You can tell.
I mean, you can tell. The problem is, though, it doesn't let the teams kind of, in a way, cheat. But getting off topic. Well, that can be another.
Yeah.
That's a whole different argument. So, if we go back to the financial things of the World Cup. Go back to the financial things. Should more countries be allowed to qualify to bring in more money? Obviously, at the moment, the football world has taken a massive step back. Even next season could be a big financial struggle. So, with more countries being allowed to enter the World Cup, could that be a better idea? Because it'd bring in more fan base, more sponsorships, more everything to bring in more money. But would the competition lose its, like, I don't know what the word is, but like, would it lose something out of it? Because literally anybody would be there. It's not the best of the best; it's everybody.
Yeah, there's an argument for saying the more teams the better, but then do we really want all teams to be there? Surely that's what the qualifiers are for. And if you don't qualify in that top 24, is it 24 teams?
Isn't it America and the Canada one that's after? Aren't they're wanting to make it pretty
Yeah.
substantially bigger, aren't they?
Well, I mean, if you go for the Americas, the USA are probably never going to qualify unless it's on their own soil anyway. So,
True, and Canada.
yeah. So that's kind of a different argument. But I mean, yeah, expanding more, it grows the game in those countries, doesn't it? If their teams are at a World Cup.
Especially after all this, countries are struggling with money, and football is a great way to bring in money, not just for like the teams themselves, but for a country.
Yeah, exactly. It is a massive commercial entity, isn't it? It just makes money.
I mean, compared to the Super Bowl, it's massive. The Super Bowl's
It's a
nothing compared to the
balance,
World
yeah.
Cup final, and
It's a balance between
even if you're
money.
like, there's some nations that probably won't watch the World Cup because they think, oh, we're never going to get there, so I'm not going to watch it. But if you've entered it, you're more enticed to watch the remaining fixtures.
Yeah,
So
it
then,
is a balance between money and saying what is are these actually the best teams playing in the world?
and then another thing moving on, like obviously with it being in Qatar, how will teams cope with the heat?
Um, it's hard to say. They'd have to do some warm weather training, I think,
I mean,
at the very least.
they already do
Um,
have warm weather camps. That is a I mean, England go to a warm weather camp, don't they, before the World Cup? They did for the last one. But you've got teams like
yeah,
Russia who are they going to be able to cope? Are footballers going to be able to cope in the Qatar heat?
it's difficult to say, isn't it? But it's not. You can't really be an argument to say that one team has got a kind of an edge over another team because of the heat. Because they'll all be in the same position. All the teams arrive at the same time.
I mean, just to
It's
put it
up
in
to
perspective, in Qatar, it's 10 o'clock at time of recording, and it's 33 degrees Celsius.
yeah.
Like,
um, that
and
is
the hottest point in the day in Qatar, obviously, your hottest point is between 12 and 3, and it goes up to 44 degrees at 2 o'clock, which is when a lot of football is going to be played. And that can't be good on the human body, despite who you are, playing football at that magnitude, at that heat.
I think the game is going to be a lot slower,
I
isn't it?
think it's going to potentially be a lot boring. A lot more boring.
Well, international football just now is not as intense as domestic football, is it? But
It's not, but obviously
it's
the better
yeah, it's totally different, isn't it?
the more you advance in the competition, the better the football becomes. But I just can't. I don't know how they're going to compete in that, like cope in the heat, because it is going. Like, try playing football, a competitive football match, in 44 degrees heat. That's degrees
Yeah,
Celsius.
it's they're going to have to play in kind of closed roof, air conditioned stadiums or something to just it's
They're going to
just
need water
bonkers.
breaks every
It's not
10
even the heat, is it?
minutes.
It's the humidity as
Yeah,
well. The humidity of the air.
I mean, it's just
Because
going
I
to
mean,
be
you can protect it from
ridiculous.
direct sunlight, but yeah, it's just I don't know. They're gonna have to do something. They're gonna have to like have wet paper towels or something at
I
half
mean,
time.
I'm looking now, like, on the statistics for average weather of the month in Qatar, and it's October, the warmest it can get is 35 degrees, November 29, and December goes down to 24, but the normal is between 20 and 28 still. That's in December.
Yeah, and that's hotter than our summers.
Exactly. I mean, That's a weekend we go in the beer garden. Never mind. Have a Christmas dinner. I
Yeah,
mean, that's... I don't know how it's going to be done. I really don't know how it's going to be done.
it's going to be a shock to the system, and it's only changing for a year, just one. So it's like
The
you have
only
to question whether it's really worth it.
the only benefit I can think of the World Cup being in December is we only have to wait 3.5 years till the next one.
That's true.
That is the only.
The quicker it comes around.
That's the only benefit I can possibly think
There's
of it
always a
being
plus.
when it is that we have to wait only 3.5 years, not 4. But then the problem is now we've had to wait 4.5 years for the next World Cup.
Which is really sad.
It is, but keeping the World Cup stage, I think the best one is going to be the USA Canada. I think that's going to be a phenomenal World Cup. I think that is going to be brilliant. It's a long time away, I know, but that is going to be so good. I'm not going to Qatar. There's no chance of going to Qatar, but I want to aim to go to the USA Canada World Cup. I think that is going to be amazing.
I mean, you've got all the infrastructure there already. I mean, you've got a growing fan base in the Americas for football or soccer.
Let's just hope that Megan
So
Rapinoe is not there causing havoc.
I think she'll be there.
Oh,
She'll be the ambassador. But
calling Virgil van
it's,
Dijk cute. No, okay.
it's got the potential, hasn't it?
It's going to be good.
Great.
It's going to be good. It's going to be very good. Right, so I think that about wraps up the World Cup segment. So if we move on to so this actually ties in with it. Fans returning to stadiums. So could we see are we going to see fans at the World Cup, or potentially, or are we going to see fans? When do you think we'll see fans return to stadiums in general?
It's not a football question, is it? That's the issue. It's a public health question. But I've seen this weekend in New Zealand. Obviously, they've done really well defeating COVID-19 for now, anyway. And they've just allowed rugby games to take place with crowds, with stadiums full there. So I don't think we're that far away from seeing stadiums back full.
But obviously,
it depends on totally. It's an individual country thing, isn't it?
But in terms of football, though, so like when we move out into government have already said in England, it'll move out into a country lockdown and move more into local lockdowns as such. And let's say if your team is playing at home or away, but the team you're playing against is in a local lockdown, will the game go on? Well, obviously, because that puts the home team in a massive disadvantage because they've played the away leg with fans there, but you're playing the home leg with no one there, so there's a massive change of scenery for a 2-week, 3-week period. Whereas the week before,
huge issue, isn't it?
I just don't see how will fans be allowed to go if it's a local lockdown? Will the game be allowed to commence if it's a local lockdown? How would that work?
It all depends on finding a treatment in vaccines for it, doesn't it? Because, like you say, you can't. If it's a local lockdown in an area, you can't have a game going on. It's not as simple as we'll just move it to another stadium, because then you've got an issue of fans will still travel out of a lockdown area. You've got an issue of saying, well, where's the integrity in the competition? If you played the other game at home or an away venue, then this game needs to be played at the other venue. Otherwise, you've got a mismatch there, and it's not fair. It's all about a fair competition, isn't it, for all?
It is, but it's
just
really
not possible
fair
to achieve. I don't think
it's not. So it's not really fair, obviously, if 2 weeks ago you're playing a team, no local lockdown, it's fine, but you go 2 weeks later, someone's got COVID, and you have to be put into a lockdown, and you can't have your own fans there. I think that game should be postponed. Well, it should be, because obviously it's in a local lockdown, so it should. The right thing would be to that game should be postponed rather than played or moved to a different location.
You've got a thing where um, if you postpone the game though, you then got that fixture backing up.
You have. I mean, obviously, the football is going to suffer massively already with fixture congestion. It's
Yeah,
just going
which we've already touched on.
It's going to build up even more when it moves more to local lockdowns compared to a countrywide lockdown.
I mean, I've seen there was something that came out today and yesterday in the press. So there was a friendly that took place between Spurs and Norwich. Not sure if you've seen this, but one of the Norwich players, I believe, has tested positive after the game for coronavirus.
Oh, no, I've not seen
And
that.
there was
I've
a
seen
question.
Stoke, though.
So there was a question of whether now do the Spurs players have to self-isolate now? Where does that leave it? But the government's definition of someone being in close contact is them being within 2 meters for 15 minutes or longer. And they did a statistical analysis of the game, easy for me to say, and they found that each player had only been in contact with this player during the game for 39 seconds. So
Wow.
it didn't count under the definition as close contact, so no one's got to self-isolate.
That's ridiculous. That's
And
mad.
it's just like, what? So you need to literally stand next to someone and have them spitting at you for 15 minutes for it to be considered contact, and that you've got to isolate. It's just bonkers.
But have you seen the Spurs thing? Because not Spurs, the Stoke thing. Sorry, because Stoke was meant to play Manchester United, but it got postponed because their manager contracted COVID. But yesterday, which is like 4 days later, Derby played Stoke.
Was he there?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if he had COVID symptoms or if he tested positive. But the game got postponed. But Derby played Stoke yesterday.
I don't know what's going on. There's something going on, isn't there, that they're getting out of it.
But the government is just madly inconsistent. Madly.
It's very strange. But I mean, there's been questions ever since the beginning of kind of crowds in sporting competitions going ahead, and like from the Cheltenham races right at the start, and you got the Liverpool Atletico game.
Yeah.
When the day before that game, Madrid went into lockdown, but they were still allowed to, the fans were still allowed to come and travel.
Ridiculous.
A lot of questions need to be answered.
Yeah.
And I think we're still a long way off from domestic football.
Saying we're a long way off, though, the government have just released that if you're a single person or have a single parent, you can still go and create a bubble. So with that making progression, would it be too soon still to bring fans back in September for the start of the new season?
Well, I mean, you've now got obviously the support bubble, which you mentioned, but you've also got in football training, the FA's released guidance where you can have a full team training. So this is a grassroots.
Yeah, I've seen grassroots are allowed, which I think is bizarre that grassroots are allowed to go back. Yet they've not opened schools for everybody.
So what
yet.
it is, one manager can train a whole squad as long as it's split up into groups of 6 players, and those 6 players are 2 meters away, and each group of 6 is like a fair distance away, so they don't mix between the groups. But that one coach is allowed to coach between the groups, and the parents that are there also have to isolate away from the group, but because of safeguarding and things like that, they have to be within viewing distance so they can still view the group. But then that's surely not right, because it's literally groups of different households coming together.
It just goes against. It's so shocking that grassroots football can return this soon. And what's astonishing is parents are okay to send the kids to go and play football, but the idea of sending them to school is astonishing. Like, and they can't.
Yeah,
They're baffled at the fact that they're allowed to go back to school, yet they're allowing them to go and play football.
I think we're a long way off from competitions taking place in contact football, but it just doesn't seem right. It seems bending the rule.
So, would you say then September is too optimistic to be bringing fans back? Because a lot of fans are paying for season tickets for next year. I myself, I am. So I pay mine in a monthly direct debit, obviously, and along many other fans. I've already started paying for my season ticket for next season. Do I get my hopes up to go and watch it, or I'm just going to be told I can't go?
It depends on the level of football. Premier League, Championship, yeah, they'll be starting. If they don't start on time in August, definitely be starting in September. Fans in stadiums, probably not. To be honest, I don't think we'll see fans in stadiums this year. I don't
Really,
think.
what, all the way up
2021?
Really?
Yeah.
So obviously another thing of that is, if you pay for your season ticket, are fans gonna want the money back, or are they gonna want to be able to watch the game for free, as long as obviously they carry on paying the monthly subscription as terms of the season ticket? But obviously with Rams TV, that's £10, £15 a month, whereas my season ticket cost me £25 a month.
But then, if you're going back to the start of the pandemic, the scientific advice was saying that actually the virus doesn't transmit very well in big crowds. It's not that's not an issue. But has that advice now changed? Because we're not allowing fans in stadiums now and things like that. We can't have these groups of people. I think it has, to be honest. I think they was treating it more like the influenza, the flu, before, where
I think we'll see fans back in stadiums as home fans before away fans.
See, that's the thing, though. Is that going to happen?
Well, I mean,
how can you say that home fans?
No, because it's bringing in from a different area, isn't it? The country. So it goes back again to the local lockdown situation, doesn't it? Whereas, like, let's say for example, if Derby playing Millwall next week, if Derby's in a local lockdown, Derby shouldn't be allowed to travel to Millwall to play. But
I won't travel to Millwall anyway.
But it will be, because it's football and people demand football and they see it as something above everything.
Yeah. September's too early, I think. But I mean, even so, with the Premier League and Championship, I think they'll start on time with their seasons. Whether fans go back, probably not. League One and League Two, it's hard to say, isn't it? Really, I mean, the National League has apparently said to their clubs, they're expecting September at the earliest, probably, to start playing again. But then you're going down, you're going from elite football and professional footballers down to kind of just people playing recreationally amateur football, semi-pro football, aren't you? And obviously, the lower you go down, the more players you've got. And is there really, the money goes down, so that's not kind of an issue.
Obviously, a lot of football clubs rely on the fans though coming in still, don't they, to pay the players' wages.
But then the lower down you also go, you've not got seated stadiums, have you? These grounds.
True.
They're never really at full capacity anyway. If you've got a ground that can hold probably 800 people and you're getting 350 fans a game, you've probably got that space around the ground to
be able to socially distance
people. But then as soon as someone scores, everyone's going to rush forward.
Exactly. That's what I mean about the away fans. Like, being at an away game is so different to being at a home game. If you're at a home game, you normally just stand up and start cheering. Whereas if you're in an away game, you score, you're jumping on somebody in front of you, you don't know who they are, because it's just so much
You,
better to score at an away game.
you're probably more at risk of getting hit by a flying chair or something than COVID, to be honest. But it's
Well, a fact about a chair. I went to Rotherham away last season, and we conceded, and somebody ripped the chair off and threw it down the stand, and it hit a girl on the back. No, it hit a woman on the back of the head, and it caused a fight literally right next to me and my friend Max. Like, honestly, it was
crazy,
ridiculous.
It's like, why do you feel the need to rip up a chair, throw it at somebody?
And he just frisbeed it, and you could see I watched him do it. I was like, oh, it was like the time just went really slow. Like, oh my god, there's nothing we can do to help warn the people below us that a chair is going to be flying at your head. And you could tell he regretted it as soon as he threw it. It was like, oh no. And people were looking at us lot thinking it was you, but there was a guy getting beat up next to us who was the person who threw it. Like, people were beating him up because he threw the thingy. And he got kicked out.
Oh, I should hope so. Doing that to your own fans. I mean, it'd be alright if you lobbed it into the home end, but
It wouldn't be alright, but I still think people would have kicked off in the home end, in the away end.
Well, it's bound to get you ejected, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you get ejected for just recording the game nowadays, don't you? Without permission to video it.
Well, that's right, to be honest. Sky Sports pay millions.
Yeah.
They want amateur video. Anyway, that's going to be beside the point. What protocol should be put in place for the return of fans? We've kind of already answered that. I think you've got enough capacity for testing and things like that. You can have temperature checks outside the ground.
But like, if the track and trace system goes on, I mean, if someone catches it, do they alert the club, and the club send a text out to 30,000 people to make sure to see if you're in contact with them?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? If you're going by the definition of the government, you're
Go
probably only going to be in contact. Yeah, exactly. Durham away. You're probably only going to be in close contact with a few people, but it's those people that are then in close contact with another person and another person and another person. So it's really hard, and that's why I don't think it'll come back this year. I think you've got to have a proper. There's no actual treatment.
But is it fair though to have fans in the stadium for half of the season and then bring them in for the second half? Could you say that's fair?
We talked a bit about this in the first episode.
Exactly, or would you say the best thing to do is just leave fans out completely for the whole year?
Yeah, but then you go back to the issue of income, don't you, and money.
So
I don't think there is an impact of fans being in the stadium on the team and the players, but I don't think it's enough for an argument to say that if half of the season is played with them not there and half of them played is there, it makes a difference. I don't think it really does.
They'll scrap it for a year and we'll have a crowd noise in the stadium instead.
Well, I saw something.
Is it what Ben Foster put up by any chance?
Yes, exactly that. That's what I'm talking about. So Ben Foster. Ben Foster said there was. What was the team?
If we can find the tweet, we'll put it up on the screen as well so you can read it. But the tweet was we was playing a friendly game again. I think it was the A and the B team, and one of the coaching staff was refereeing, and apparently it was awful. And they put the crowd noise saying the referee's a wanker all around.
Was playing that in the stadium.
Hopefully we can find the tweet. We can put the tweet on. But honestly, it's hilarious.
That's brilliant.
Oh dear.
Authentic.
Right then.
So yeah,
if we move
to summarise, when will fans be returning to the stadium? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. So the clickbait title, you had to wait 15 or 20 minutes to listen to us say, nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Right. So let's move on to the Championship. So big thing in the Championship, and I can see it happening even more with what's happening, is bringing in a wage cap?
One word answer: yes.
Oh,
There
are
needs to be a
you?
wage. There needs to be a wage cap.
Like, my issue is with the wage cap is it could seriously affect Premier League survival for the next season. Because you think the likes of players that you can't bring in, like Wolves, for example. Wolves never would have got promoted without Ruben Neves or Raul Patricio in goal. And they're going to be on ridiculous because they came from Porto and I think it was Sporting Lisbon Raul Patricio came from. And they'd have been nowhere near the Premier League survival that they had without those players they recruited in the Championship.
Yeah, but you've just got these clubs just overspending and spending beyond their means, and it's just not fair, is it? It's not a fair competition.
But it's at the same time though, there are clubs that have proved you don't need that. Southampton, Bournemouth, Sheffield United. They've all proved that you
Exactly. So
don't need it, but
if it can be done, then there needs to be a
but
cap, doesn't there?
not all clubs can do it though. But I don't think there should be a wage cap. I
I
don't
mean,
agree with the
yeah,
wage cap. I don't.
you
If
have it in the MLS, don't you?
if you can afford to buy and bring in the best players, you should be able to. Not just because poor Luton Town can't afford to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm traditionalist in saying that it's based on your sporting merits, isn't it? But I think that's quite a naive view to say that if a player wanted to play for Luton and Wolves came in and said we're going to give you 15 grand a week more, they'd still go and play for Luton. That's just not going to happen, is
True.
it? But
I mean, it helps clubs
I
with
don't.
championship survival because they're more likely to bring in a player because they're not being poached by, obviously, like you say, your bigger teams who have more money. They're all going to offer them more wages to come. But I just don't agree with a wage cap because it just massively affect surviving in the Premier League because you've not got that foundation base of players you've brought up with you. Obviously, momentum's a big thing moving to the Premier League. If you, like Norwich City, if you can continue that momentum from the Championship to the Premier League, it sets you up. Obviously, they've flopped since.
If you were to put a wage cap in, what would it be a week?
I don't know what it'd be, but how would it be worked out? To be fair, I mean, what can Luton afford as a max wage player? What, £8 grand a week, Luton maybe?
And there's the thing as well where if you're putting a wage cap, they're just going to put appearance bonuses up and goal
True, and
bonuses and
signing
things like
bonuses
that.
and things like yeah,
There's always going to be a way around it, isn't there?
there is. But how
Yeah,
would they
they'd
do it?
just say, "Oh,
Would they have to take all 24 teams and find an average, and the average is the wage cap? And what would that happen to players that are already in contract? Would they have to have the wages docked? I'm pretty sure it is illegal to dock a wage halfway through a contract.
well, yeah, it's what's in the it's open to court,
Imagine the
isn't it?
lawsuits at the Championship the
Suing it.
EFL's going to get
Yeah.
if they bring. I can't see how they could possibly bring it in. Because imagine a player going from like you're in your last season of your contract, you're on 35k a week in a championship, and then next week you have to be on 17k. I mean, the championship will just
It'll
die. No one will
be
want to play in it anymore.
it'll be like they do with financial fair play, won't it? Where it'll be over so many years if you overspend
Well, we've seen these
by a
ways.
certain
We've seen
amount.
these ways around financial fair play. I mean, look at Derby.
Yeah, and like you say, that's up for for review now, isn't it?
It
And
is,
that's being
but
challenged.
it's the EFL's own mistakes to the reason they accepted it. They accepted the premise of how Derby was going to do it. If they didn't accept it, then Derby would have found another way around it, potentially.
Yeah, it's it's kind of the ugly side of the beautiful game, isn't it? That's the problem. where you do now. You have player power, and it is all about the agents and that negotiation between clubs and players. Where you 40, 50 years ago, it wasn't really about that. But that's just the modern game, and
Which is a shame.
in
It's gone to a
it is a
money
shame.
sport rather than playing for enjoyment and having that as a
It's a
dream
shame,
job.
but yeah. But then on the other side, would football be as good as it is now in the global game if it weren't like that?
True.
I mean, the whole foundation of the Premier League was around that, creating a commercial entity and that money making side behind football, where you had the Premier League, the Premiership, the top clubs in England, and the best league in the world all competing. And every year, it weren't like other leagues where it was a foregone conclusion before they'd even started who would win the league. And it's kind of proved itself, hasn't it? You've
Yeah.
got that competition, and even in the Championship now, you look at sort of predictions that people make at start of season, then it turns out it's totally different at the end.
So, well,
And
if we move away from the ugly side of football and go towards the more positive and what you just mentioned, predictions. So, promotion candidates and predictions. What based off what we can see now? Because I actually did a poll on this. Who do we think is going to get promoted from the Championship? And it was quite an interesting
okay,
return, actually. It shocked me, to be fair. Let me see if I'll be able to find it. Because I think top of the league at the minute is Leeds. Right, so yeah. Top of the league is Leeds. Then it's West Brom in second. Then Fulham. So they're the top three. So if I get up now, the Championship table, so I'll go through that.
but I mean, even if you look at the table now, so Leeds are on 71 points, West Brom on 70, and then Fulham are down on 64.
But Leeds were
And
like
then the
that last
next
season, though, and they bottled it big
falling
time.
apart again.
And then
But
you
then
got
the
the
goal
likes
difference
of
between Leeds and West Brom is so much bigger as well.
True, but it's not far away. Even Forest and Preston, the Championship's so tight. But right, so back to the poll. So the poll was Leeds, West Brom, Fulham, and obviously Forest and Brentford are on the same points. I've chose to put Forest in there because I feel like Forest fans have more of an appearance on Twitter than Brentford fans. I mean, Corrupt FM have probably got more of a fan base than Brentford. Sorry, Brentford fans.
The bees.
And
Nice stadium
actually,
though.
Forest got the majority vote to get promoted and the automatics.
In automatic promotion.
So the tweet was going to be crunch time in the Championship soon. Who is going up in the automatics this season? Then I put Leeds fans # Leeds United at the keyboard ready. And then there's 123 votes on this. So one of our more successful polls. And Forest got 32% of the votes.
I mean, this season I think Forest have probably been the I don't want to say most improved because it sounds like they were
So Forest,
just
out
like
of
winning the most improved player.
so Forest got a hell of a lot of votes in that. Hell of a lot of votes.
But I mean, I think I'd probably have Forest out of the others, to be honest.
Would you really?
To go up.
I mean, I
Yeah.
know I'm going to be a lot more biased because I'm obviously a Derby fan, but I do see myself as quite a realist as well at the same time. I'm not as I personally I wouldn't say I'm as deluded as much as Derby fans are towards Derby. I
But you've
mean,
got a lot more knowledge of the Championship than I have because you've seen these teams play at Pride
true.
Park. So
I mean, as much as you'll get some Derby fans that will say Derby is still leaps and bounds better than Forest when we're not. Forest are the better club this season. Derby had it for a good 5 or 6 seasons, but Forest are the better club. at the minute, as it
Is it
stands.
mathematically still possible for Derby to get into the playoffs?
Yes, we are only 5 points off the playoffs in 12.
But do you think you'll get
No, no.
there?
I don't think we will, but with lockdown, who knows what's going to happen?
It's like we said last time. It is a reset, isn't it? It's like playing a whole new season.
Exactly. So we don't know. Leeds could fall apart. Barnsley could make a shock survival. Like, no one knows what's going to happen because it is like, are we going to see players flop under the big occasion? Because we all like Ronaldo, for example. I know he's not a championship player, but he thrives on the big occasion. Are people going to flop?
And that's the thing. It's a big occasion. It's a big occasion, but is it a big occasion? It's a big occasion to be playing back football, but
yeah, but your fans aren't there.
Exactly.
Like, honestly,
it's kind of all hyped up, isn't it?
I want to believe that Derby can get to the playoffs. 5 points in 9 games. It's doable. Providing everybody else drops points the same way as Derby wins the points. But honestly, I don't know what's going to happen. I think Leeds will do it this year. I think Leeds will win the league. And I think Fulham will take second, and I think West Brom will drop off. And playoffs.
It'll be interesting to see.
Playoffs, I'm not going to make a prediction on playoffs because, I mean,
it's too tight, I think.
It's too tight. I mean, you can go all the way down to 16th place and then 9 points off the playoffs. That's 10 places below and still 9 points off.
It will be decided on those head-to-head games.
Yeah, if I base it on the head-to-head games now, I think it's Fulham. If the league stays as it is, it's going to be Fulham.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be.
And then you have to go on.
Fulham will beat Preston, Forest will beat Brentford, and Fulham will beat Forest.
And if you look at it away from the footballing side, you think if London has another spike, and they have to do a local lockdown in boroughs of London, you look at those clubs there. You've got Fulham there, Brentford are in there, Millwall.
True, a lot of big clubs. Yeah.
If you go down, the rest are, if I'm looking in places where they are, I think they're pretty much other sides of the country and they're quite far away from each other. If my geography is that good.
Nowhere near
Cardiff in Swansea, possibly, but they're and that'll be interesting to see whether that has any effect. Because it's not just on the pitch now, is it? That's the thing.
True.
There's so many different things
that
are chucked in. Yeah, really interesting. And who wins? Who has the final argument? And is it the doctors or
the footballers?
Or the football and the money talking?
So if you go to the other end of the table, something that's going to probably be a bit less complicated: relegation. You've got Barnsley, Luton and Charlton all in the relegation zone.
I think Barnsley have been poor for a few seasons now, haven't they?
Well, they're up and down constantly, though. They are literally the yo-yo of the Football League.
I think it's about time up for them.
They literally just go up and down, up and down, up and down constantly. Luton was a shock promotion. They're 1 point off the bottom, which is probably a place better than what they thought they'd come this season so far.
But their goal difference is a lot worse.
It is.
So if they keep shipping goals like they are doing, then I don't see them actually doing anything. Just 1 second, Joe. Pause your recording. Hello.
So then it goes up to Charlton after that.
I mean, did you go to the Charlton game? Have you not played them yet?
You know what? It's been that long since football. I don't know. Like,
I mean, they're another London team as well.
They are. So Luton, Luton's
just outside, aren't they? They're probably too far away for a London lockdown. But so there's another one where you think,
But
possibly.
surprising relegation candidates, Huddersfield, who have just come down.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it?
On
As well,
42
you got
points.
these parachute payments, but they don't mean anything.
Same with Stoke, 42 points. Middlesbrough,
Yeah.
41. But then you can look up to Birmingham on 48. You could think, and Birmingham and Swansea on 48. You can think, maybe. But then you scroll up a little bit and you think, well, maybe they could do playoffs as well. The Championship is just that tight.
And only 37 games played.
It's
So,
crazy.
all still to play for.
It is crunch time. You could probably say the Championship's the most competitive league in football.
Yeah, it's probably one of the hardest leagues in football as well, to be honest.
It's just so average across the board. I mean, it just goes to show the likes of Huddersfield and Stoke City where they are after recently coming down. Same with Cardiff. Cardiff are in 9th place, coming down from the Premier League.
Well, we've seen it before, haven't we? Clubs coming down from the Premier League, Championship, then down to League One.
Sunderland, Wolves, Portsmouth,
Yeah.
Bolton.
It happens.
The list goes on. But it's such a hard league to get out of. I mean, people say that the National League is a hard league to get out of, but I think the Championship's the worst. It is so difficult.
Yeah, the Championship is the National League, but with a bit more money.
Yes, yes, that's one way you could say it. But
we shall see.
We shall see, because
we await the return of football.
This time next week, as of recording, the football will be back.
Football will be back.
Football
yes, can't wait.
Will be back. We're not talking about shitty German football. Good old English.
Yeah, the Bundesliga
football.
Is dead to us now. We've had enough. We're going to get later on. We're going to get some Super Six predictions, I think.
Yes,
for the weekend.
So that will be good. So what we'll do is, I think the good way to do that is we could predict ours, and then afterwards we could put some polls on Twitter to see who's going to win, and then we can also go against the punditry predictions, and then we could compare our predictions to how the polls have reacted and how the pundits will react as well.
Yeah, sounds good.
So that will be exciting to record. And also, I think we should set up a Super 6 league.
Yeah, and we'll see who wins.
Subscribers and followers could join our league and see how people get on. I think that'd be very good. Oh, my phone's nearly fell off the desk. I think that'd be very good to put on.
Anyway, we're rabbiting on now and we're going over time, so we'll call it there. Thanks for listening, everyone. Please like and comment on the podcast, please. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on the other streaming sites, please share with your friends. Get in touch with us on Twitter and take part.
Take part. Have your say.
So we'll leave it there. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Cheers.